Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we have a Boy Howdy campaign for you. Our first round is going to be the Overlook, followed up by the Cox's Push. Before we get into this, thank you to our YouTube members for the support. If you'd like the support, go beneath the video and hit the join button. By doing so, you can get a live stream of all the broadcasts we do. You can advertise your regiment in the bottom of our videos and get an additional broadcast per week. Our regiments for today: on the CSA side, you got the 6th Arkansas, 7th South Carolina, 2nd Kentucky, the Kentucky Outlaws, 14th Tennessee, Army of Northern Virginia, 7th Louisiana, 1st South Carolina, Zorvana Zouaves, 2nd Texas, 1st North Carolina, and then there was another regiment named WAB. They had 2 guys, though. And then on the Union side, you got the 65th Illinois, Midwest Brigade, Stonewall Brigade, 1st Minnesota, Archers Brigade, Irish Volunteer Brigade, Eagles Brigade, and the 2nd United States Sharpshooters. With that all being said, our actual server pop right now is 216. Imbalance is actually perfect, and there's no artillery on this Conquest map. Frontline reporters today. To show you what's going on the ground. On the Union side, you got Complex from the Irish Volunteer Brigade, and then on the opposite side, you got Cloud from the Army of Northern Virginia. Appreciate these guys so we can see what's going on the ground and also seeing what is going on in the sky. Co-commentating with me today, we have Snow Cactus. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Trusty Jan. I am Snow Cactus. I am the regimental head of the 65th Illinois, a subsidiary of V Corps. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. Hopefully things work out this week. You did it last week, but had some fun technical issues. But well, hopefully that didn't jinx it. But anyways, Overlook here.
All right. Everyone just missed beautiful commentary that will now never see the light of day.
So, Boy Howdy has different conquest rules. Normally you fight over all 3 points, A, B, and C. But for this event, you fight only over 1 point until the 25-minute mark. And that is decided before the round starts, and that is the B point. So everyone's going to be fighting over the B point until the 25-minute mark. At that point, the A and C point can be fought over, and the gist of Conquest at that point is whoever has a majority of the flags, you will start dealing a ticket drain on your opponent. If you have 1 more flag than your opponent, you're dealing 1 flagpole's worth. If you're up 2-0, you're dealing 2 flagpole's worth. If each side has 1, they cancel out. So that's the gist of Conquest. And yeah, a lot of contention is going to be happening at B. Snow Cactus, you got any insight into Conquest?
Yeah, it's Conquest probably nothing more so than anybody else does. Overlook, I think, is the one thing that's going to make this event unique. Of all the maps in War of Rights, this is probably the most asymmetric that's still balanced. And I always forget this match exists until it comes up in an event. And it's always really interesting to watch people play it because you have such uneven terrain, you have such steep, terrain features. You have C and A right next to each other, and yet at the same time they might as well be on the moon. And you have a lot of concealment, so teams can be really tricky about maneuvering here. This is going to be a fun one to watch, despite the fact that you can't really see anything because of all the trees.
Right. I will say it's like Maryland Heights. I haven't watched that skirmish map in 6 months, at least for regimental stuff. So, I do wish to see Maryland Heights one day. But, that being said, Union took the B point. They're starting to deal a ticket drain on the CSA. CSA responding kind of quickly, moving up on the point. Union did not really aggressively hold that. Instead, trying to just hold the high ground and just take shots at CSA. But, Union's eventually going to have to come down to take this point back because that point... being down a point will deal more ticket loss to you than anything else your opponent can do. So you got to move quickly, and you got to take the point back in your favor, or at least decap it, which I'm glad the CSA moved as quick as they could to get the decap, and they do. So, good response from CSA.
Yeah, the Union got there first, but the CSA came in bigger number. But it's going to be, depending on the numbers that the Union have on this ridge, with their cover, concealment, and the high ground, it's going to be real difficult, I think, for... The CSA is going to need a lot of number to actually take it. I think the terrain slightly favors the Union, but it's going to, if the Union doesn't commit to the point and the CSA does, it could go either way.
Indeed. Looking to the far southeast-east, you got the IVB. Trying to do a little bit of a flank around, but you do have some CSA down the hill. That'll be there. I don't think they see IVB, the 7th LA, alongside the 1st North Carolina, and I see Carol Scene from the 14th Tennessee, but I know Union's going to have to push at some point because, well, I guess CSA hasn't taken the point. They are trying to, though.
It would be kind of a cunning thing to just sit there, and if they think that the CSA can't capture, to just shoot them out. But here we are. The CSA is halfway to capture. But they shot him. Was that Gomez who died? What up, Gomez? I'm sorry you're dead.
Meanwhile, opposite side of the point, to the west-northwest side, you have Eagles Brigade, who was on the bottom of the hill trying to secure this Union flank. You still have some Union down there, but Eagles Brigade is kind of shifting back up to that B point, seeing that the CSA is going to take it. But, I mean, yeah, Union could keep shooting down there, and as long as CSA doesn't cap, they don't necessarily have to go down there, but CSA is eventually going to get it, I would think.
Yeah, they got to be real conscientious on who's out that flagpole, although right now, where's the buckle on it? Which side is it? That, oh, yeah, that does give you really, that does give an easy shot to the Union, and they keep trying to go piecemeal to hoist it, but you need 3 people up there.
Flag, stay back. Flag, stay back.
Oh, there they go.
Hey, we're gonna push this. MWD, we're gonna push.
Oh, nice shot.
Yeah, now the Union's got to get physical on them.
Yeah, I'm hearing First Lieutenant Cope, I think that's Colt, who is saying we got to go in, and, you know, hopefully they go in together, and it looks like they're going to be doing that.
Oh, there they go. Yeah, now the Union's coming in number. I think they should. They should retake, as long as someone has the wherewithal to start decapping during this charge.
Yep, CSA's got to watch out, though. They can't run straight down the hill because they'll die to fall damage. I've seen that a few times. In,
That's one of the things I love about this map that makes it so tricky. You can be really good at... I can't tell you how many times I've had, like, a small force assigned to guard C, and then if nothing's going on, we're like, screw it, let's go to A. Nobody pays attention to A because they think it's just a CSA given. And if you take a small force out there, you can go down the hill, you can cut across the terrain. But I have taken 10 people down there, and we succeeded, but we lost about 6 of them to fall damage.
You're saying you walked from the C point down the hill to...
You don't go straight there. There's like a little bit of a fish hook you can take, but a lot of people are, especially with the new fall damage update. I was one of the people who died once, and I think I fell 4 feet, and I'm like, yeah, that's about right. With my 1860s rickets, because I've had 1 glass of milk in my entire life, my knees would shatter on a 4-foot drop. Historically accurate.
I didn't realize you could do that.
And the CSA doesn't either. Wait, why am I telling this on the... Well, let's hope none of them watch your channel.
Guys, the stream went down. I'm sorry. We got to cancel it.
Yeah. Every CSA person, I was lying right now.
I'm sure even just trying to do that, you would definitely make a fair amount of mistakes. I mean, you know the path. Anyways, with that being said, Union take the B point back, starting to deal ticket drain. CSA trying to quickly respond and flanking from both sides. 7th LA, 14th Tennessee from the east-southeast side. Going in on that side, you got some CSA going in on the other as well.
But I think this is kind of this moment that shows the advantage that Union has for B-Point, because now the Union is in the exact same position that CSA was for the opening of this game, but whereas the Union was able to shoot down on them from B, the CSA can't really shoot up.
Right. And that western side kind of halts, getting close. Alright, going to the far southeast side, you do have like 4 or 5 CSA guys, the 1st North Carolina sharpshooters. Looks like they're just trying to go on for a flank, but 33rd Virginia, SB, they see them. Not a whole lot of major stuff there, but you could see, right, Union's barely had this point for a few minutes, and CSA is down a half morale stage. Granted, I bet Union's won the shootout.
All those casualties from before.
Yeah, I mean, Union's definitely gotten a shooting advantage on the CSA, but Flag's going to be a big part of that as well.
I didn't realize it was the Palmettos was one of the CSA, and actually the biggest CSA regiment right now. And I think this is one of those maps, and Palmettos is one of those regiments where it can make a good bit of difference, because they have access to what? It's the Mississippi and the Whitworth?
Yeah, I was going to look at that right now.
I don't play CSA very often, so I don't have their stuff memorized, but I think it's that.
Yeah, let's see. Palmetto sharpshooters have the option of the Enfield, Mississippi, and the Whitworth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sniper team regiment. So if you got people on the Palmettos who know how to play woods, who know how to skirmish, they can make themselves an absolute menace on a map like this.
So Union charged down on that CSA far left side towards the west. They're trying to pursue and get their flags, Eagles Brigade, which they can afford a little bit of a ticket loss trying to overextend here. But as long as they have enough Union to defend the point, which they do, I mean, this overextension is not terrible. CSA hit.
I understand the desire to go little round top on this, but yeah, that your threat. It's easy to say when I'm looking at it from the sky, and I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing if I was on the ground. But with the ability of omnipotence, I think it might risk tickets for little gain because everyone's fighting on one point. You can't hope like, oh, the CSA has a thin line here that we can then just use momentum to break through. No, the entire team is going to be down there.
Right. Especially with those 5-second flag respawns. Let's see. 14th Tennessee, the other CSA regiment, they've got the option of the Springfield 55, the Enfield, and the Springfield 42. So CSA's got Buck and Ball there, and then let's see, you got 8th Ohio and 1st Maryland for Union.
In my head, in my head.
Well, I hope you're not hearing this guy singing Zombies by the Cranberries. He'll get a copyright strike.
I may or may not be on top of him. So,
boy, I can't tell you how many times during the Zombies event I would just sing that because I've been drinking.
Fair enough. Fair.
And it's a great song.
They should keep that zombie mode out the whole year. I don't get why they would spend that much development time on a game mode for 2 weeks.
I said update it for holidays. Have it be a turkey assault on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Get attacked by elves on Christmas. But, you know, Campfire Games refuses to hire me for the small issue that I am completely unqualified. Literally 1984. But anyway.
8th Ohio Regiment for the Union. They've got the option of the Springfield 55 and the Springfield 61. And then 1st Maryland. The website I'm using for this, like, you can select a regiment, but it's like they have every single regiment in the game in a big row, and it is it's a long scroll. Let's see. 1st Maryland, they've got the Springfield 42, Buck and Ball, and the Springfield 55. So I guess overall a little even on weapons. You can argue if CSA has the advantage per se with those Mississippis or not. You got some Union going down towards CSA. 1st Minnesota Midwest Brigade. I don't know why they're charging down at CSA.
They charged 'cause I had the flag and
Looks
they
like
wanted to get
CSA hasn't really made a push up the hill per se by a fair amount of people. I mean, you got 2nd Kentucky going up, and we've seen the 1st North Carolina up here engaging with SB, but nice little surprise
You know,
here. Yeah.
I really liked the Mississippi, but I haven't quite gotten the hang of it since the new update.
What do you mean by that? It should be a lot easier to use, right? Because it's way more
It probably
accurate.
should be, but before, like, it was always sighted for a really long range. I think, like, as opposed to our most rifles, and this is completely hearsay, I might be completely talking out of my ass, but for most rifles, they were sighted for roughly 100 yards, but the Mississippi was kind of unique that it was sighted for, I think they said it was like 1,000, so you had to aim real low with it. And I had a good feel for it, and I don't know. Maybe I just haven't had enough times to use it since the update, but I've kind of lost my feel for it. But I like it because it's a real pretty gun.
That is true. Actually, I mean, it's.
Hold on the rocks.
I guess even with increased accuracy, like people might have been aiming for a certain area, and because that, let's say, like, I don't know, people like aim for the waist or something like that. I'm trying to vocalize what I'm saying. I don't know. It's just, I guess if you have a decreased bullet spread, it could change where you're aiming because it's not so much luck-based per se. Like, you have to aim a little better. I don't know.
I wonder if they fixed the Enfield's little up and to the left thing.
Up and to the left?
Yeah, it always shot a little bit. I can't remember. It was like down into the left or up into the left. I'm thinking of that JFK movie. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back until the left. Every time I did like a shooting qual with the Enfield, I always thought that.
Interesting. So, CSA is making a big push up to the B point, kind of in the center of the map. You have CSA on the far west, left side, now being charged out by Union, which is a little confusing. Eagles Brigade doing this again. I don't like this decision. You're defending the B point. Why are you charging them out? If you lose, they could countercharge here.
Yeah, they're getting overconfident, and right now A and V is making a big old fishhook flank that if the Union isn't ready for, they're going to get steamrolled. Oh, and of course, they're heading right to my own regiment. Guys, don't embarrass me. Turn around.
Uh-oh.
Ziggy, turn
him.
around, hear my voice.
One more. Can Ziggy do it? Uh-oh, here comes Killer.
Ziggy doesn't even realize the entire team's been killed. I know what we're working on next.
Killer.
Oh, there he goes.
Oh, he maybe wasn't.
Selector, save my boy Ziggy.
He gets one. Oh.
No, don't reload, Ziggy. Oh, he's getting a bayonet. All right, that makes sense. Kill him, Ziggy. Wait, no, you can't. That's Ramboing. Oh, I thought he was going to make it.
Right. So, yeah, at this point, 25 minutes, the A and C point do open up. That's why you have a Union group off at the C point, which I don't know if they have a flag. Second U.S. Sharps, they don't have a flag, so Union...
Yep.
I don't see a Union flag near C. Meanwhile, CSA has a flag on A. So, this situation...
That may be well and good, but right now, being the homer that I am, I'm focusing on my 65th boys doing what I've taught them to do and skirmish out, and they're doing it well.
Damn it, where are my guys?
So,
Anyway, yeah, back to the real part of the game.
A and C can be captured now. And right now the situation is not looking that great for Union. They overextended a little bit. EB did on B. You also have a lot of CSA kind of around the point. CSA has the A point. Union doesn't have a flag near C, so no one's losing tickets at the flag loss right now. And CSA is actually starting a decap here. EB, or actually ZZ and the WAB.
Oh, but that's going to change soon.
I will say that is
frustrating.
That is a heck of a tag. EIB, square bracket, CSN, semicolon, ZZ, square bracket. That's a heck of a tag.
Who's this? Oh, wait, MDZZ?
Yeah, if you go on the B point, Evans V.
Oh, yeah, what the? Huh. Well, that's different.
Yeah, hey. Whatever does the job, per se. Midwest Brigade EB moving on to the B point. 6 Arkansas is now running up trying to get some shots into them. But I think 6 Arkansas is a little outnumbered, and they might lose a flag here. Which, Red Ranger getting out of there pretty quickly. Meanwhile, some flanking charge from CSA on B. Being the A and B.
Right now, the Union's... The Union, as the situation presents itself, losing B is not an option. They need to get that flag up, and they need to get it now. And then they got to regroup and figure out... Oh my god, that is frustrating when you got a guy... Oh, cool. They're talking about it being glitched.
Yeah, well, they got it.
We need to shoot him and pick up the flag.
I gotta say, I've been in Conquest before, like in the War of Brothers campaign, where someone just for whatever reason cannot figure out how to get the flag up. And it feels like such a Soviet decision where I'm sometimes tempted, like, if you can't figure this out in 2 seconds, I'm going to team kill you and get it up myself, but...
Yep. Union gets a flag to see.
Yep.
Which the second U.S. Sharps guys are shooting at that flag. I don't know if they're doing that intention.
Well, the second Sharps are doing a hell of a job of holding that by themselves, and it's got to be incredibly frustrating that they don't have a flag to capture. Right now, you got 2 flags at B.
Wait.
And they all seem to be running back the same way.
I'm stupid. There is a CSA officer by shovel with the Union flag at the C point. That's why they were shooting. I was like...
Oh,
he's blocking the flagpole.
Body blocked.
And he just got killed. He's out of line, I think. And he wasn't even in the right quadrant either. It's just kind of funny.
Oh.
And now Johnny Reb is blocking Shovel from getting... Oh, they get it?
Ah, man.
I'm
watching the drama B, and... Now, if the Union has more balls than sense, a move that might work is if they want to get aggressive now, because A is, again, like I said, a point that's usually taken for granted by the CSA. If they did a full send to A, they could easily overwhelm it and get something there that's going to throw the CSA on the back foot. But It's like they learned their lesson a little too late. Now they want to play cautious up the hill while two flags are just kind of standing there.
I lied,
But
buddy. I lied to
I guess
you.
each team has one. Oh, never mind. I stand corrected. We got C.
Yeah.
I mean, the Union has C.
You heard it here first.
I am an
Snow Cactus controlling his team.
Sorry, Kai.
Anyway,
I am an impartial observer and have
that's what we
absolutely
are
no
as
biases.
commentators, right? No bias.
Yeah, ask Hawk Harrelson. I would never be biased to my.
So
That's a reference like 10 people will get, if even.
Union get the C point. They're starting to deal a ticket drain. IVB tried to charge 7th LA out, but 7th LA barely held. And meanwhile, a lot of the Union are moving from B. I don't know if they're trying to secure their flank. It does kind of leave their center a little open, but I don't know if they're trying to go for A. They don't need to at this point, but they might get a little greedy. I mean, we'll see what they want to do.
I mean, I don't hate that decision. With these numbers, if you have B and C, screw it. Make them defend that like really low point. Because the Union can go downhill a lot faster than the CSA can go uphill. And if you can bottleneck them into A, worst case scenario, they're stuck at A. Best case scenario, you've got a triple cap.
That's assuming all the CSA are down here, which
That is true. I'm making a lot of assumptions.
a good chunk are. Yeah, it's just the issue for Union, right? They overextend here. CSA get the B point, and then at that point, each side has one flag pull up. The Union's kind of stuck like, do we keep going for A or do we head back? And
Here comes Colonel Killer, hi-ho silver, and up the road like Captain Sobel, leading from the front. I'm curious to see how this goes. Killer, you show my you got that level 100.
Oh, yeah. I mean, their Union is keeping a lot of CSA down here distracted. CSA, though, holding that initial push is now going to countercharge, and Union, they need to get that flag out.
Yeah.
Come here, boy. Where you going with that flag, boy? Where you going with that flag, boy?
I'll cover you, flag. Just get out.
Oh,
You ain't covering shit, boy.
might get out. Muggins here from Midwest. So just use his admin powers and teleport. If only he could do that.
There you go. He's secretly a member of Campfire Games. He just doesn't talk about it because he's a low-key chill guy. I have a weird
That's a
affinity
funny
for
meme.
these strange pink CSA battle flags. I always get weirdly excited when there's one on the field.
Pink? CSA flag?
Yeah.
Which one?
I think that's the 14th Tennessee's is pink. It's not the pink one, but it's kind of pink. It's like someone put the CSA battle flag through the wash with a little too much bleach.
Oh. Union does lose that flag in the end. 6 Arkansas does retrieve that. And this would be a good time for CSA to get a little aggressive, you know? They wiped Union a little bit. Union is down a flag, but...
The Union flag couldn't withstand the pink flag.
Indeed. We'll note that officers cannot talk over like a Steam call or another chat. They've got to send rudders or talk to each other in game if they want to communicate a battle plan of any sorts. And
It's like 1995. You got to talk to each other. No
I
phones,
know.
no texting.
We're actually in an in-house studio right now recording this. No
Yeah,
Discord.
in front of a live studio audience.
Yep.
That's why the laugh track is there. We just haven't been pressing the button.
That would be crazy. C point's about to get a little interesting. So, Archer's Brigade's holding for Union. 2nd U.S. Sharps is here up on the rocks, and you've got some 7th LA. It looks like after wiping IVB, they decided to push up here, and
Who's leading
they're
7th
trying to get a little flank here. 7th LA is up by the C point, but they fall down, you know, a little too high, and they die of the fall damage.
Yep. Them rickets will get you. I'm waiting for Campfire Games to give us the disease update. More soldiers died of typhus, dysentery, and cholera, which are all, SAT words for you drank poop water and shit yourself to death, and died in the battlefield. And I think it's time for this game that focuses on hyper-realism to reflect that.
That would be crazy. You just randomly die to something, you're just like, your vision gets worse.
Yeah, I want my
progresses.
poop yourself to death mini game because I don't understand how electrolytes work because I'm an illiterate hillbilly.
Charging at B. CSA is making a little push-up. You also got Union again going down that far Union right side or CSA left. It's kind of
Go that back,
overextending.
Ziggy. Redeem yourself. Damn it, Ziggy. He's going to be clutched before the end of the night. I'm calling it.
Yeah, A&V TKO pushing up towards the B point. They don't realize, though, that Midwest is behind them and 27th Virginia, which they now see him.
Oh, here comes the Union counterattack on B, running the opposite way for some reason. Their counter retreat.
CSA is going to get the decap at B. I mean...
Oh, there they go.
IVB is going in, which you got to prevent CSA. I mean, you don't have to. You're up on morale stage, but obviously you want to keep that flag up.
Yeah, I think the Union's
Stop
got that
it.
on B.
For a moment, CSA it's breaking, and Union's barely going to hold this.
Oh, I'm pretty sure this is what the national anthem's about. Gave proof to the night that that flag is still there.
Might not be there in a second, though, as here comes A&V and 6 Arkansas coming up and over.
What are you, Francis Key Scott, but like the Bizarro version? Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry for doubting you, Nega Scott.
I just want to kill you.
Well, here comes some more Union. I don't know if it's enough, though.
Nah, they came too piecemeal. They're not gonna dislodge that CSA.
Regardless, CSA is in a terrible spot. They're down over a morale stage at this point with 15 minutes left. I mean, there's definitely still time for them to come back, but they've got to hold 2 points for most, if not the rest of the game. Or else
Yeah.
it's over.
Like, it's not to keep harping on this point, but I believe this map does favor a competent Union. Like, I think at the end, and that's easier said than done because this is a map where you have to really trust in the rest of your team because you cannot see what they're doing. You cannot react to what your friendlies are doing. You just kind of have to have faith that everybody is sticking to the plan. But if they do, if things go well, the fighting downhill, I think, is Union favored.
Interesting.
But there's a lot of, there's a lot of variables into what I just said, so we'll see.
We'll see what happens. I'm at C point right now, and I'm like zooming out with my camera, like going up, and then I go back down, and like the rocks all load in, but it's like a shadow loads in before the rocks. So there's like a black
It's
spot.
because you're
and then
wall
the
hacks.
rocks. Yeah,
It's like
Yeah,
we established. If you're ever fighting Eagle, he is a dirty, dirty wall hacker.
indeed. It's actually why I'm not allowed to play the game anymore. I can only spectate.
That is right.
So
I have not looked at C in a while. Let's gander. What is going over here?
What the heck? There is a flag bouncing down the hill. Oh, it's a Union flag by B bouncing down the hill.
Oh, that's unideal.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, Union's got one flag down there. CSA has one flag down there as well, but you got a couple skirmishing at C, but Union should be able to hold that. Honestly, I mean, Union's not making a charge in at B.
Refresh my memory. Who is EIB?
I don't know.
Are they new?
Yes.
Yeah, they have to be. I feel like I would know these tags because they're so unique. I see you, EIB. I don't know who you are, but
Let's
let your
see.
creativity fly.
Come here, motherfucker. Where you
So there's...
Come here. You're
I'll
gonna
say in a
fucking
second.
die.
So,
You're fucking
Charge
die.
Eagles Brigade pushing back into B. A&V is moving up the hill to try to push them out. That's the thing, though, is that CSA has to hold in this kind of like very slanted hilly area to the southwest of the B point. And that's just letting Union run straight up because CSA can't hold up by the B point because Union can just hide up in the woods and shoot down on them. Meanwhile, as A&V gets pushed out, here comes a multitude of CSA groups. First South Carolina, 7th LA, TKO. Union does get that decap at B.
All right.
I think CSA
I look
should
at
be able
B,
to take
nothing's
it.
happening. Then you're telling me C. I go over to C, and now the action's
I'm
in C, and it's
sorry.
going to take me 20 minutes to fly over there.
That's
You
the-
should be. No, I'm kidding. That's just the nature of the map.
This-
You're more used to this than I am. You have a better sense for where the action is. I'm just a lowly layperson who's flying around and giving my worthless opinions.
No, we're glad you're here. We're very glad you're here.
Oh, thank
And it
you.
Just,
I'm glad I'm
no,
here,
it's the
too.
thing with Conquest is there's normally something happening everywhere, and it's Can be a lot
Yeah,
at
and
times.
it's like I said, you know what? It's a map of low visibility.
Yeah. So let's see. EIB. Oh, where is it? So
The Electric
the-
Indigo
oh.
Brigade.
there's multiple. So the ZZ group, the Zervora Zuavs, are part of EIB, and the WAB, who I didn't have on the chord sheet or on the
The
intro.
wet ass bussy.
The Washington Artillery Battalion or Brigade, not yet decided.
Okay, that's a great identity to have. I hope the Washington football team sticks with it.
Let's see. Yeah, huh. Let's see, I'm in the Zulav Discord.
Oh my god, I wanted to be one to him, I fucking won.
Anyways, I'll keep scrolling through this and see if I can find it. We got some charging here at B, though. Midwest Brigade showing up now, trying to contest the point that CSA has taken. I mean, despite CSA contesting this point and winning it, I mean, a lot of the melee or just combat in general, CSA is almost down. Half of morale stages are breaking. It's
But
getting
they do have
close.
2 flags, and that can make things in heavy fighting like this. That can make the difference. All right, Diggy Wiggy versus Necmo. Who's gonna win this officer duel? Necmo did. All right.
Holy crap. A lot of CSA at B. Nearly the
Yeah.
whole team.
I'd almost say, again, with the benefit of omnipotence, I can't blame any Union person for this not being their thought. I would almost say it's worth sending a detachment to just stealth decap A, because the entire CSA is now focused on B and C. You don't even have to take a flag, just decap it. It's going to put you on even footing. And then the
Exactly.
Union can win with just a shootout.
Yeah, that's the thing. Whenever you play Conquest, you send a tiny group or so to hold your safe point, which Union would be C. You send most of your team to fight over that middle point, which Union has done for the most part, and then as Snow Cactus just mentioned, you send a couple guys over to the A point. And
Yeah, send like 5 people over there. It's not a big, it's a low risk, high reward situation. It's small enough where they may not get noticed. If you're going to an area that the enemy team just kind of thinks is a given that they're gonna hold, if they get wiped, 5 people are wiped. Not the end of the world. But if they decap, that completely shifts the momentum of the game.
huge. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more upside than downside.
Yeah.
Alright. Well,
I say that though, I'm a little biased. I am the commander of one of those little tricky units, so you know I like my little gnome tricks.
it's a good trick at that. It's a trick that'll always be valid. Let's see. Alright, I just looked through one of those discords and I can't find what EIB means. Anyways, Union hit breaking. Okay, so they were Greg's Brigade because it was 2nd Texas, and
Now, was Greg's Brigade a thing in the Civil War, or were they just founded by some dude named Greg? 'Cause that would be very funny.
I don't know. But you had Greg's
If I were to
Brigade.
go back in time and start my own regiment, I'd do the same thing.
Just name it Greg's Brigade.
No, I mean, well, my name's not Greg, but
Oh,
not
yeah, I
to
see
dox
what you mean.
myself, but I just call it my real name and then roll with it.
Exactly. Union's making a push into B. You have some CSA trying to charge up to maybe distract some Union or get in the flank. IBB, EB going into the B point. I mean, at this point, it almost looks like the fate of CSA is sealed. They're about to hit last stand. At that point, they can't respawn. Even though
They
do
might be,
have
but
flag.
man, it feels like the Union's trying to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They keep running that B kind of piecemeal. Or wait, no, they pulled off.
I mean,
Oh, all right,
the
they seem
charge
to have
kinda
pulled off. Yeah, no, that.
failed, but it's dealing a ticket loss, and at this point, that's all the Union kind of needs to do. I mean, next charge, CSA is most likely in last stand.
Yeah, that's true. Hold the high ground, shoot them out. Trust that you have enough of an advantage. That's what I'd be doing right now.
All right, so it looks like it was Greg's Brigade. It was 2nd Texas and I think Holcomb Legion, and
Oh,
they, I guess, are now EIB. At least that's
Wonder
what it
what
says in
happened
the
to
2nd
Holcomb.
Texas Discord.
fair.
I should just DM and ask somebody.
No, it's more fun to speculate.
Oh, that's true.
I'm trying to compare them in my head to the ELO, but the EIB, so the electric. I guess that's too tenuous.
Interesting.
It's not, but thank you for indulging me in that.
I mean, I want to know too. I mean, it's good to know.
Oh, that. I thought you were talking about my crazy, mental affiliations. Their
fine.
identity is, yes, interesting.
Reloads it, but after you're shot, load that bucket ball, boys.
They're trying to get reformed up there. They
This
just
is
picked up a
fascinating.
flag.
We'll figure it out one way or another. Anyways, 6 minutes left. Union, I mean, they're still losing tickets, but again, they've just got to knock CSA in the last stand, and then at that point, they're most likely to be able to win that B point. I mean, I don't know how quick that flag drop rate is. I mean, it's maybe possible for Union to hit last stand at this point. It definitely is, but
I think it is. This isn't quite... The deal isn't sealed, but the CSA is fighting both a figurative and literal uphill battle here. But I have seen crazier comebacks. But I think that's going to be contingent on the Union really letting their brains fall out of their ears. So let's see.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, the
Two
only
flags.
way Union loses this is if they just turtle in the main. At least, if they turtle in the main spawn, they definitely won't win. But at least any other window, I see Union either getting a draw or a win. All right.
Yeah.
EIB. Okay, final prediction. I was just told in DMs. What do you think EIB stands for?
Oh, Eritrean Infantry Brigade. They are the historical regiment from the Horn of Africa that went to go fight for the CSA for some reason.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, no, it's totally real if you don't look it up.
So, it is Evans Independent Brigade.
That was going to be my second guess.
Of course. It had the
Yeah.
person's name in it. It had Independent, which is, I feel like makes sense. And then Brigade is, yeah, that just makes sense. 4 minutes left.
You know, the one thing that I would say that might be able to break this in a normal Conquest map is if the CSA decided to send a strong contingent to C, and then hopefully kind of like dislodge a complacent Union over there. But because the causeway at C is so defendable, if they would have to send so many people that they would leave B open, and then the Union would just move in like a hermit crab there. Yeah, I think this is
It's a hard map to be greedy on. Second, you are Sharps. I will note, just got a nice flank on CSAB. They didn't do. They got a flag and they killed a good chunk of people that hit him in the last stand. And here comes Union down from the top of the hill.
If I had to give an MVP on this one, I might say second Sharps just by occupying that critical space, even if they didn't have a flag.
Union can't lose that safe point. CSA was, I think, only made one, maybe two pushes there. I don't necessarily remember, but.
If I've had one legacy in this community, it's that I made a habit of every time that the enemy went into last stand, I'd like to make the Matrix joke, if they die now, they die in real life. And I yelled that so much that now even when I play pubs, I hear other people yelling that.
It's always the best.
That is what I have added to War of Rights, and I get so proud every time I hear it.
Unions actually might hit last stand as well. Yeah, they probably will.
Alright, but I think they've had enough kills now where even if they go in the last stand, it's theirs.
In college when I did marching band, I would always say "Ayo" and "Ain't no way." Like try to find a way to fit in the music because I did drumline stuff, and so I could talk. And people, the similar thing, like would say "Ayo" and "Ain't no way." That spread. And it was a great thing.
In a similar vein, when I was in college, there was this weird like techno song that my roommate liked called the Salmon Dance, where a salmon said "What it do," and I started greeting people like that as a joke. But then, as it so happens, it one day it just stopped being ironic, and I started saying "What it do" to people, and I didn't think about that until one day I'm at work like 20 years later, and the receptionist is just like, "My name? Why do you always greet me like you're a guy in a 90s hip-hop video?" I'm like, I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
These sexy people go to...
So, both sides in last stand, which if the clock hits 0 at this point, it should be a draw. The only way either team is going to
No,
win at
Union's
this
got
point.
2, doesn't it? Or
Well, the only thing that matters when the clock hits 0 is the morale stages. Doesn't matter if you have more flags or less flags. So if your
then
round
they better
ends
get
right
aggro
now,
right
it's
now.
a draw. Yeah. The only way someone can win at this point is if they fully wipe their opponent or they capture all 3 points and hold it, which again favors to the Union. They have a lot more players. They hit last stand second. So
now, if the Union should be attacking right now, but I
Right.
feel like this is such a unique rule to BHC that like the commanders aren't consciously aware of this. They need to be full send into A.
yeah, exactly. I mean, this rarely you rarely, if ever, see a last stand, and I think CSA is gonna get away with a draw here, and I think so.
Union.
Yeah,
Union, yeah. You're killing me, boys.
most Unions sitting back. I see 65th versus Minnesota, some IBB and SB going down there, which those like 10 guys or so are doing the good work here for the Union.
65th, we're going to be having what's known as counseling after this. I'm just kidding. There's like 3 of you here.
Stay behind the wagon. They're all in front of us.
So, man, I guess that's another part of it is the communication per se. You know, if one person's like, hey, it's going to be a draw if we all don't go down,
Careful on that log.
it's like they
I
can't
think
communicate that to the rest of their team. Now they're
That's true,
starting
but
to
I
realize
honestly think they're just not conscientiously aware of this because that's such a unique rule to this event.
Yeah, now second U.S. Sharps and IBB's moving down. Snow Cactus, quick thoughts as we have our draw here for our first round.
Oh man, that was a good match. That kind of went back and forth. Again, I think the terrain kind of favored the Union, and they played it. They played it a little sloppy, but at the end of the day, it was enough where in a normal match they would have been the winners. So good for them, and there's nothing wrong with getting a little aggressive, especially. But you know, the CSA fought hard. I think they overcommitted to bad terrain, but you know, at the end of the day, it's a draw. So
Yeah,
what can you say?
props to CSA on that comeback, especially with the Union kind of having control. Maybe Union overextending did it. Regardless, good first round. We'll see you all for round 2 on Cox's Push. And here we are with our second round, Cox's Push. Similar to last round, didn't start right away at 45 when the rounds normally start because everyone waits till the 43-minute mark to start moving out, and then they quick time until the 40-minute mark. Want to get you straight into the fight and not have to watch a bunch of people marching. If you think that's cool, we just released a EU reenactment event of Appomattox, the surrender and all of that, which you can go look at that. That's another video. But for now, this is what we're doing. Cox's Push. It's a 10% ticket advantage towards the Union attack. However, many will say it is not a Union bias map by any means. Weapons on this map, Union has the 23rd Ohio with the option of the Springfield 42. So they've got Buck and Ball and the Lorenz. They also have the 36th Ohio with the Enfield CSA Defense. They got the 5th North Carolina with the Enfield and the Springfield 61. And they also have the 23rd North Carolina with the option of the Springfield 55, the Enfield, or the Springfield 42. Looking at our balance quickly before Union charges in, we're at 223 in balance is 7 towards the Union side. Artillery-wise, CSA is 5, so there is a 12-man infantry in balance in favor of the Union side. Anyways.
Oop, Union Dagger coming in.
I know.
Not to interrupt.
CSA, no, it's fair. Union mass charging is CSA kind of over. They're a little aggressive here.
I don't hate it. That said, though, when speaking as a Union, a primarily Union officer, when I have won on this map as the Union, it's been by being incredibly aggressive. Although with the slow start rules, like this used to kind of like be what would be what hamstrung me, like when I would play the historical rules event. Like I would keep thinking to myself like, oh, this is how you play this event, and I would do that and then not think like, oh, but the mobilization rules are different and now you're gonna go get murdered in a ditch. And I think that's what we just witnessed.
Yeah, actually, CSA outside of the CSA Center, which they mostly just fell back, they held really well, and you can even tell in the tickets how well CSA did. They have half morale. So
yeah. If only we didn't have 2 Civil War battles that were about why charging across an open field against a fortified position were a bad idea, but...
And the wild thing is...
only the Civil War were real.
Union dominated South Mountain, and yet a lot of CSA bias maps here. But... yeah?
No, I was going to make my typical joke about the... No, never mind. I'll tell you later.
All right. So... It's interesting. I don't know if you ever felt this way, but when I first played this game, I always felt like CSA had a lot more guns on defense because it always felt like they shredded you. And they only have 2 guns on this map, which is really surprising.
Well, until the new update, I think that Buck and Ball was incredibly overpowered, and in fact, it might still be. Every time this would come up in like the regimental community, like whenever there was talk about like banning Buck and Ball, they'll be like, "We don't even use Buck and Ball." But if you ban it, we're leaving the event. And they'd always be like, it's non-lethal up to 40 yards. I'm like, okay, I have like 2,000 hours in this game or something like that. I have never once been hit by a bullet and didn't instantly die. Not once. But I will give it credit. The new update, that does seem to be the case.
So,
I have now been wounded by Buck and Ball many times, so...
That 40-yard rule that they're mentioning, the devs put that in the... Nice arty shot from CSA. But the devs put it in the patch notes that past 40 yards or whatever they said, it didn't kill. But that never actually worked.
It does now, though. It does now. I feel vindicated on how I always believed that was never true before.
So...
Although, what I find really funny playing as the Union on this map is there are so few maps where the Union gets Buck and Ball, and it's like you wish for it and a finger on the monkey paw curls. You now have Buck and Ball in the worst possible map for it.
Yeah.
I like the play.
But the Lorenz is hot on this one.
Yeah, so general strategy for Cox's push, you kind of saw Union do all their options there. Historically, Union would group up in the center and just kind of charge down the stone wall and meet the CSA at the corner, which is where the CSA traditionally holds, where most of their team is right now. But you also see Union charge down the far Union right to the east side, which Union did, trying to get on the CSA flank. They can't go further east because it is out of bounds, but... they were trying to do a little flank there, and then you'll also see on this far Union left side, they'll push down to where CSA is holding in these rocks, and they'll just keep pushing down the hill on the point on this little half-stone wall and kind of cap it from here to force CSA out of that entrenched cornfield area. But, yeah, I mean, it's a rough map. Wherever Union goes, they got to charge across an open field, especially now considering that the ballistics update is here and everyone's very accurate. It's that much harder.
It is, and like I said, the secret to this map as Union has always been speed is the key, and unfortunately it's one of those events where you're kind of not allowed to use speed, and I think that's reflected in the current ticket balance. I mean, look at it, they just started, and the Union's almost already out of battle already.
Yeah, normally it's difficult for Union to outshoot your opponent. Really, before this update, you could never outshoot your opponent or shoot your opponent out of a spot or win a game based on tickets just because of how inaccurate the weapons were. But now that they're super accurate, maybe Union has a shot to regain some tickets in a shootout, but I don't know how much that's going to be.
That is true. That might change the meta. Yeah. I don't know. This is just a really... For me, for someone who's been playing for about 3 years, Cox's Push has always just been a really tricky map for me. And I think it's been a really tricky map for most of the Union. And, you know, it's one of those maps that every time you bring it up in the community, like, what do you mean? The Union always wins. Like, well, you must be playing a different game than I am, because that is never the case. But, the Union can win, but a lot of things have to go right for them. And it's one of those things where, like, not only do you have to play really well, that's not enough. You also have to be playing really well while the enemy team happens to be playing really bad.
Yep, exactly. This was actually the first event map I played, because I bought the game, I think, like June 29th of 2020, and then joined IVB a couple days later on like July 2nd, I think it was. And then the first event I played was Cox's Push. I have a recording of it, actually. And
oh, wow.
We were playing with 2 core at the time, which was 6LA, 5th Virginia, you know, the Rebel 2 or CSA 2 core that still exists today. We're playing with them, and one of their officers started team killing people, and the event never actually ended appropriately because people were rage quitting. It's a fun little video. But
that's fun.
Union charging far, CSA right, trying to take this out. Union does hit engage. Now, normally, I don't know if I'd like CSA holding here, but they held fine the first time. They also have a huge ticket lead, so they can kind of afford a little bit of a ticket loss here. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
though.
I mean, when you have this big of a ticket advantage, why not be aggressive? You know, it's funny in that same vein, the second game I think I ever played after buying this game, I was playing a pubs on downtown, and the Union absolutely got shellacked, and in my head, I'm like, oh wow, downtown's a really CSA-sided map. And I remember bringing that up the first time it came up in a regimental event, and I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It's like, I just played it in a really bad day.
Yeah. Officers can really impact your game. That's
They
for
can.
sure. Why War of Rights teams AI officers so that you can have a consistent experience regardless of
The way that Lincoln wanted it. Oh, it looks like EB, MWB. At least if I hear this chatter, it looks like the Union is trying to doomstack to attack the somewhat thin left flank of the CSA.
That's the thing too, is that you mentioned speed earlier. When you're attacking, especially on an open map like this, you cannot move and sit. You need to constantly keep moving, because the longer you take to do something as an attacker, like prep to charge, or if you stop shooting to prep for a charge, right? The longer you give the defenders time to figure out what's going on, they're going to be able to set themselves up better. Now, they kind of react to teams going over here, but...
I'm looking right now at this rock. This is some... I hate to be kind of harsh, but as a Union player, I'm going to say I'm allowed to be. That was some Bush League attacking. Everyone just charged in piecemeals like the bad guy in a ninja movie. You had a death stack here, and everyone was completely disconnected on where the attack time came. The fact that the last attackers are now moving out behind that cover, like, what, 15 seconds after that attack began? That's sloppy.
Yeah. You also have, I mean, you have some sitting back and shooting, but maybe they were assigned. I don't know. You got some more Union shifting this way. Union will get over here, though, and this is what I was mentioning earlier. Now, Union can cap the point all the way from down here. Don't mind the little flag capture point marker in the center of the field here. The points is basically most of the length of this half-stone wall. It goes from this kind of bush here to the northeast side where 2nd Kentucky is, all the way to about this tree where Union's at right now. So the thing is, right, Union can cap the point from here, force CSA out of their strong defensive spots, and then maybe engage in a more open field scenario where Union can get tickets down. Now, will it work? Who knows? But we'll see
EB
what
and
happens.
IVB just made a good move. I don't think it's going to be a game changer, but they have just dropped a CSA flag in the open field. They now have that little island. That's going to mean they're able to shoot into the back of the CSA. For some reason, a bunch of them are now leaving that island, and never mind. That's what I get for complimenting them.
It always happens like that.
Yep.
TKO guys, a couple of them are trying to run up, and they should be able to get that. No, maybe not. Well, they're getting a little closer, but yeah, Union spreading out, trying to avoid the artillery fire, but again, they got to spread out while still trying to be in cover. But this is not a bad cap at all. It's going to give the attackers more time because it's going to stop the black timer, and on top of that too, the only thing that can... Okay, if the attackers have more tickets than the defenders when they cap the point, and then continue to have that through the point, and the defenders retake it, while the defenders are down on percentage of tickets, defenders can regain tickets. The thing is, though, is the attackers right now, they're down tickets, so the defenders aren't going to gain any tickets with this. So when you're down tickets... what?
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So there is almost no downside as an attacker to early cap if you're down on tickets. Unless it puts you in a really crappy spot. But, I mean, there's really no good spots on this map for Union. So this is perfectly fine.
3 years into this game, and I'm still learning.
Skirmish mode's complex, that's for sure.
Yep.
There's no tutorial for the
Nah,
game.
yeah, I agree with you. This is one of those things, like, especially when the Union started off this rough, you know, early cap, you know, throw it at the wall, see what sticks. That would be my advice too. But yeah, if there's nothing to lose, and I mean, and now they've been able to turn the flank. The one thing that I think is, the Union won this battle historically, didn't they?
South Mountain as a whole, to my understanding, Union won. I don't know about any particular encounter on that. I just know they won South Mountain. Also, CSA Artillery almost just killed their own guys.
That is true, and I could be wrong, but I thought they won, like, the area that was known as Cox's Push. I feel like one Union battery would even this up a whole lot. Because it's a very hard thing for any team that has to move across an open field completely exposed, and to have an enemy artillery that is out of bounds that can act with impunity and just shoot at any static position, of which there are so few on this map, is a huge advantage to the defenders, who already have a naturally big advantage. I don't know if it's historically accurate, but honestly, having one Union gun who can do the same for the Union would make this a lot more of a viable map, in my humble opinion.
I agree. So according to Wikipedia, it says Cox's division, let's see, Cox's division secured much of the land south of the Fox's Gap. In the movement, Rutherford B. Hayes of the 23rd Ohio led a flank attack.
That is true. He was the 23rd Ohio.
Was seriously wounded. Cox pushed through the North Carolinians positioned behind a stone wall at a gap's crest, but he failed to capitalize on his gains, and his men were exhausted, allowing the Confederates to deploy reinforcements in the gap around the Daniel Wise farm.
The unfortunate days before you could give all your soldiers amphetamines.
So, I guess there's a little history lesson there. I was like,
send me back in time with a bottle of Adderall, and I'll have the Civil War wrapped up in a month.
So, the only downside to a counter early tap can be that the attackers lose a lot of tickets trying to do that. Like, the thing is, with a counterattack as an attacker, you want to, especially for Union right now, your goal is to give yourself more time, which you are, because you stop the black timer. But you're also trying to make the tickets closer. And the thing is they're not getting any closer right now. Which, again, it's still fine. This is a hard map. You got to wait for CSA to charge in and retake the point, which maybe things will even out by then. But I'm a little surprised CSA's kind of taking this a little slow. Normally, if you are a defending team, you want to retake that point as quickly as possible. One, because you're losing tickets right now. And that black timer is not going down. And as a defender, you want to get the black timer down to 0. And when the point's capped, that's not happening.
So nominally, I would agree with you, but I think the CSA recognizes that not only do they have an entire morale bar ahead of the Union, they also have most of the strategic positions on this. They hold the wall, they hold the stone corner, they hold the stone wall by the tree, they hold that little island to the north, and basically the only strategic advantage spot that the Union has is the stone island to the north of the wall and the regular island back towards the Union line, both of which are very easy for artillery to dwell on. There's just no rush for them. If I'm the CSA, I'm going to say, yeah, take our time, bleed them out, and then just cap the moment they go into breaking, which is probably going to happen soon.
That is a very fair point to make. CSA's up by so much, they don't necessarily have to worry. Like, if the game was a lot closer, then maybe you might want to try to retake quickly. I will note that if CSA pushes the Union into last stand, not breaking, if they retake the point, they can automatically win. So it's weird like that because CSA.
The only way I can see the Union winning this at this point is if the CSA gets incredibly overconfident and they wait too long to try and recap, and then the Union consolidates. But
yeah, I mean,
I don't want to sound like a hater, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, the only way Union kind of wins at this point is if they capture and, I think, hold the point. I don't think we're going to see a whole morale stage swinging tickets. Even like a half morale stage swinging tickets at this point. So, yeah, Union, if they should try to hold this for 14.5 minutes. Now, if CSA, Union could back off, let CSA retake it, and then Union could take it again, and that gold timer would start at 12 minutes, and CSA isn't engaged instead of battle ready. The gold timer starts when a point is captured. Defenders are in battle ready. It's a 20-minute counterattack, and we actually have CSA moving in now from that corner position. A and V starting to push up. 7th LA's behind.
Right here, boys. On the
yeah.
And Union still holding point.
My one note that I have is I do enjoy the Boy Howdy campaign, but I think it is still. It's an event that is very heavily populated by CSA units, which isn't a problem per se. But one thing that I feel like I kind of note is that it requires a lot of balance, and I think a lot of the CSA regiments don't necessarily know how to play a lot of the skirmish maps on the Union side. And I wouldn't even say that's necessarily something that's at play here, but it might be.
Could very well be true. So 6 Arkansas ran up and took one of those stone little island things. Union just kind of went off of it right away. TKO's pushing through that though, charging in. A and V is going right on point to get right into the Union line, and they're gonna charge.
Yeah, get out of here,
Yeah.
shitty boy.
And points starting to swing back in CSA's favor.
65th, hold! Do a better job.
I mean, here's the thing. I would say, it looks like Union's starting to catch up a little bit on tickets, which is good for them, but when you hit a new morale stage, it's like the bar doesn't start moving down right away. So I still think we're at roughly a whole morale stage difference right now, even though...
Like when you put a
it looks
gas in your
closer.
car, how long it takes to go from F to low, but...
Yeah.
Boy.
Union lost 2 flags there. One thing Union does need is they need 2 flags. I will note, Union did take the corn. Archers Brigade, 2nd U.S. Sharps, they're on the stone wall, but in the corn there you got 1st Minnesota. That's not a bad idea for Union, right? Wait for CSA. Honestly, a great idea for Union is if they see CSA start to push in, maybe have those flags retreat, get back to this corn side, and take the corn and have your guys respawn in the corn while everyone's having a big melee on point. I mean, a part of it is speed and deception.
Be the worst. Yeah, a hit and run wouldn't be the worst thing, but right now in this situation, I feel like the 2nd needs to be moving closer to the crux there. They need to be holding that spot and then taking advantage of the fact that the CSA is charging in piecemeal.
Yeah, First Minnesota has the right idea here. I don't know why Archers Brigade and 2nd U.S. Sharps are not there, and also now they're pulling off. They're kind of giving ground
I
back.
understand why you might want to play cautiously. All things again, we benefit from being able to see everything. These guys on the ground can, and I understand why they might want to be a little bit cautious, but it is objectively probably the wrong call.
I think it is objectively the wrong call.
I don't blame someone for taking it.
If this corn is open for a Union to take, even if you have a small force, you should be taking that. I don't think there's any reason to sit back, especially when Union being farther back, having kind of a shootout with the CSA hasn't really worked for you so far. It's maybe not lost you a whole lot of tickets, and things have kind of kept the same. Like, you haven't lost more than the CSA, but you gotta find a game-changing moment, and I think taking a risk like that, you gotta do something big like that at this point to get back in the game in terms of tickets.
You reach a certain point where desperate times call for desperate measures, and it's really kind of hard to organize. I find this as someone who plays, like, I pub off... I don't play pub as much as I used to, even though I know I should. When I do pub officer, you kind of find yourself in the situation where it's like, okay, desperate times call for desperate measures. We need something drastic. We need something that's really different, like that's going to catch them off guard. And so when people are feeling pessimistic, when people are feeling on the back foot, when people feel like it's really the game's already lost, it can be hard to motivate people for that, to get everybody on like the spirit to core that's needed to be like, we're going to do a full send on the left flank and then stab them in the back.
Check, yep.
At least in my experience.
That makes sense. It's like trying to lead like Eastwoods or something crazy like that as Union.
Pessimism spreads through the ranks. Easy.
It's one thing about War of Rights is that everyone's in the same voice call.
Well, are they?
I mean, yeah, everyone's talking in game.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's what I mean.
I'm so used to I'm so used to leading in the events where you're not allowed to talk in game. I get yelled at all the time when I try to lead in pubs. They're like, we said it in chat. I'm like, well, I'm not conditioned to look at chat.
It's definitely something pub officers, I would think, would want to talk about at the beginning of a round, is how you're going to communicate with each other.
I always try to mix results.
Fair enough. That's kind of the unfortunate thing too, is you only got one server really active in pubs at any given point, and so only like 8 people at most can be an officer, and so most of the time you have the same consistent officers, and so trying to have new people learn how to be officer, unless you play at an off time with fairly low pop, you're not going to be able to do officer a whole lot unless you spam and get lucky. But
yeah, you kind of need auto clicker.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, too, is that if you go into pubs and you do a bad job, people are going to let you know, and if you're not too experienced, it can be a rough time. You got to be pushing up center wall to get some shots on the Union who are now in the open. What were we gonna say?
I always joke the high water mark of my War of Rights career is when 2 people on the subreddit said that I was their favorite pub officer, and I've been trying to chase that dopamine ever since.
It's the only reason I play this game anymore.
Yeah. I do think I pub officer relatively well, but you know that's when I realized the limitations of just like you are only one person, and there's only so much you can do to influence and control the other 2/3 of the team.
Yep.
And I unfortunately use it mostly to try and recruit, and that's that's frustrating.
That's a whole other fun topic. Union pushing in far left. It's Midwest Brigade, IVB pushing up. They're trying to take this. CSA fall back pretty quickly. Both sides about to drop into their next stage. Union into breaking, CSA into taking losses. I think Union was waiting for CSA to taking losses, because if they capture at this point, the CSA will have to retake the point within 7 minutes, which that is a little more manageable for Union to hold. I mean, we'll see if they do it, but for now, CSA actually has more bodies on point, and I think it's due to the 14th Tennessee running up.
SB did stealth get that flag back up. That's going to be a big boon for the left flank.
So a lot of Unions shifting around. I think they're trying to get on this side, get down to the point to help hold it.
SB Pack Spare, you may have died quickly, but I appreciate the enthusiasm that you had in your brief life, and before the rest of your team was turned into cranberry jelly by 2 concurrent artery blasts. Artillery blast.
I'm confused what's Union doing. I don't know if there's a miscommunication or people have different ideas, but you saw IVB and Midwest go down for that corner. Maybe they were just trying to charge someone out, but the rest of the Union team's just kind of sitting up in the center hill shooting. EB,
this is what
AD.
happens every time you play Cox. Everyone gets too cautious. They all want to play back because they're afraid to commit. Like, at the end of the day, with Cox, as the Union, you need aggression. You got to find a point, you got to stick to it, and you got to have confidence in it. This is where I see Cox break down the most. Every time I watch this, as a guy who regularly plays Union, who regularly officers Union, the moment that you have the Union sitting in the back trying to shoot it out, it's game over. I don't mean to be a hater here, but in my years of experience in this game, that's the death knell.
Yeah, the only way you can win is by attacking, charging, trying to take those spots. If it doesn't work, oh well, that's the only way you're able to win.
Be aggressive, use violence of actions. If it didn't work, then it didn't work. At least you made the gamble. Like, this is a high risk, high reward map for the Union. Commit to it, because if you try to play the middle, you're just gonna lose.
Which, I mean, another thing too about being aggressive is that even if things don't go well at the beginning, right? Union right now, they've somewhat been aggressive this round, but they've got 24 minutes to kind of figure things out. It's not like they sat back and shot the whole time, and then we get down to like the last 10 minutes of the game, and everyone's in a high taking losses or a low engaged, and then Union starts to panic. So I can at least appreciate.
The time is all well and good, but then look at the morale state. They're an entire morale state behind.
Yeah,
and I'm looking right now.
Kill them.
The strongest point for the Union right now is this little corner where you got AVB, EB. Like, this is where the Union is strongest, but they're static, and that just allowed that arty to blast away like a group of 7 right there. And that's the danger on this map. If you get too complacent in one spot, you're just going to get exploded.
I think.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to get heated. This is just a very frustrating map for me for the last, 3 years.
You're fine. That's what we do. I think Union, that first charge Union had, I mean, they lost a half morale stage there. The thing was, the CSA, as a defender, you generally see this, and you're seeing it right now. Generally, at the beginning of the map, defenders spread themselves across the whole width of the map. You want to cover all your grounds. You don't know where the attacker's going to go, and you don't want to not put guys somewhere, and then the attackers exploit that, get on your flank, or worse, on your rear. So Union should, instead of doing a big spread out charge across the map, Union should have just grouped up and hit one of the sides, whether it be the left, center, or right. They should have just gone somewhere as a team. That would
I 1000% agree with you. On Cox, on the Conquest map that this is based on, the CSA, their advantage is the fact that you have such a wide open ground, but their disadvantage is that they have so much ground to potentially defend. As the Union, the ethos, it is your prerogative to decide where the attack is going to happen, and with that, you can death stack that. You can send an entire fist to puncture through whatever weak CSA line is there, but you got to be aggressive and you got to commit. You all got to be on the same page, which unfortunately is sometimes a very difficult thing to do in this game.
Yeah, something I've mentioned in other events too is, deception, charging everyone down one side, keeping the flags a little back on the complete other flank, and as that charge is dying and pulling the whole CSA defense, or whoever's defender that way, you push the 4 flags up who are respawning guys to take the other flank. It's just, that's going to be very hard to pull off, don't get me wrong, and that's a dream world, but
yeah,
we got to start getting a little creative with these attacks, especially since these higher pop servers. It's starting to become a lot more impossible for the attackers to actually outflank and outsmart your opponent. I mean, on a 100, 150, maybe a 200-man server, you could outrun and outflank your opponent, but now you can't since defenders can defend the whole width of the map. Which is why
especially
I think,
now with the ballistics update.
Yeah, which is why I think skirmish should have been capped to 200, 250 players. But I know a lot of people like higher stuff. I think the higher pops is great for conquest and contention, but I like skirmish because it's such a complex mode. It takes a long time to figure out, and you need to be.
So many of these maps were designed back when the max server was 150 or something.
A lot less than
like
that. 16.
Exactly, like we were talking before the event, like High Street. That's why High Street is such a broken thing. It's not meant for 400 people.
Yep. And so they've either got to limit the cap, which the devs said they aren't going to do because they spent too much time on it, which I think is a bad idea in general, or a bad logic. Anyways, Union's charging in on the far, CSA right again trying to take this corner. I wonder if they're going to try to cap CSA, fall back almost straight away. And
I will say this,
I
I don't necessarily think that they need to deal with to limit the player cap, because I do think having big servers is good, but I do think what they need to do is they need to start getting data feedback for the tickets and then tweaking the tickets.
Or expanding the boundaries.
Or that too. Yeah, Howdy should not be out of bounds on this map.
I was going to say, a lot of Union, actually, we'll see after this charge. Union's going in, I think this might be one of the last, 1 or 2 last Union attempts here. I think they're trying to go in and cap the point to maybe see if they can hold it, or just try to get him down the break and do one last desperate charge.
Hey, you know what? I say this all the time. If it's a map where that your team is probably gonna lose, or it's a team, or it's a map that you're losing pretty bad, do something audacious. Do something audacious that's gonna catch them off guard. I don't know how many people who watch these videos or who play this game are familiar with the Sengoku Judai, or the biography of Oba Nobunaga, or when his entire fiefdom was almost overrun, and he just made the audacious plan of taking the last of his retainers and flanking I think it was the Ibanawa in a canyon, and everyone was so caught off guard that it worked for him, and he became shogun until he was killed by his own man. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, no, be audacious when things look unlikely. That's the philosophy.
EB just sat in the middle of the open field, 5 feet off the stone wall, and just sat.
And you know what? And they did it. Audacity.
They did it somehow. I don't know how CSA didn't kill him. Union's still holding here on the corner side. You got 7th LA artillery charging out at them now.
I don't know who this PFC Rubber Ducky is, but I like his name. Shout out to you, Rubber Ducky, if you watch this video. And pick up that flag! Oh, and he did it! What a hero, Rubber Ducky. Alright, you're my new favorite EB member.
So yeah, Union's at least making a hold. It's teetering the point. CSA, though, holding it. Now, Union's going to hit final push. Black Timer's going to drop to a few minutes left. They'll have infinite respawns, but again, a limited time. I will note, what I meant to say earlier is the devs said that they worked so hard on doing a 400-player server, 500, which we've had tested. They worked so hard on it that they don't want to reverse it for any reason, which I think is kind of bad logic, because even if you work on something and it turns out to not be working, I think you should adjust course, but that's just my take.
I understand that getting the hardware is the tricky part, and I don't fault them for that, but you need to make adjustments around that if you're not going to adjust that. My big complaint right now is those maps where you have the special units that are still locked to 16 people, especially in private events. Where it's oh, our Sharps Regiment has 16 people, and now we have 2 companies of 80 to deal with, and that's...
Yeah, it's
I don't love that.
Hooker's push for Union is dang near impossible now, because CSA have a great defensive spot where they can hold behind a defilade on point. So Union has to charge over a little hill to get CSA. CSA has 4 flags compared to Union having 3. They're going to be able to out-respawn. Union has a special group of sharps limited to 16, and those sharps aren't going to be as effective as they used to. Then if Union wants to push across the open, this is just a podcast at this point, but
yeah, like I said, let's go. Make a rant podcast. Invite me on for it. I am a very opinionated person.
CSA charging in. The unfortunate part, though, is I don't know if anything anyone can say can change the dev's mind, which I guess is good.
No, it won't. But you know what? Take it from me. Sometimes it's fun to scream into the void. That's why I go outside and yell at the night sky and shoot my gun in the air.
So CSA countercharge Union, trying to throw them off. You don't want Union to hold here. You really, in general, you don't want an attacking force to hold on your flank or rear side and just let them sit there. That generally doesn't work out. Depends on the situation, right? This map, I think it's a little more acceptable, but a really good countercharge from CSA. They don't even want to give Union a breath of air. They're going to wipe. It looks like they've gotten 3 flags down for the Union. Maybe 4. I see a 4th down on point. That's a CSA flag. So Union's down 3 flags, 1.5 minutes left. This round is close to. I mean, I think CSA's pulled it off, unless a miracle happens.
Damn it! What am I? He overextended, and I wanted us to do one good thing.
PopX Bear is trying to get. Please don't sue me, but the dodges from this man, very impressive there. But anyway, Snow Cactus.
Cautious.
What are your thoughts for the round here as we close out our Boy Howdy campaign?
Oh, have I been holding my thoughts about this round back this whole time? Well, let me expunge on it.
You got any more?
Yeah, this is just kind of I think this is a very, in ideal circumstances, a very difficult map for the Union, and I think that this is one of those events where sometimes the rules kind of takes away one of their few advantages on. Could they have done this better? Maybe, but I can't fault anybody who, they played it as best as they could. I think this was how it's going to go 9 times out of 10. What can you do? I think it's kind of a shame for the Union in this event because I think that they outplayed the CSA a little bit on the first one, but they still ended up drawing. And now you have this one, and it becomes a wash. I'm not biased.
I love the good old bias accusations. Heard it since day
I'll
one.
acknowledge it. Listen, all right, fine. But I will acknowledge it. I'm not going to be one of those people who pretends like, oh, my neutral opinion aligns with everything that aligns with me.
Yeah, we all have our biases. I know I just say what I think and why, but regardless, you could just you could watch the video on mute and just times 2 speed and make up your own mind. But no, thank you, Snow Cactus, for coming on. This was very fun. But thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Good 2 matches here today. A rare 1-1, or I guess a rare draw on the first map. Is what I meant to say. 1-1 isn't like a draw.
0-1.
Yeah, rare last stand, which something you don't see too often. But CSA played the end of that pretty well. And then this one, CSA just biased map towards them in an insane way, and they didn't make many mistakes. And if you don't make mistakes as a defender on some of these maps like this one, you should have a good night. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to support the channel more. Go beneath the video and hit the join button. By doing so, you can get a live stream of all the broadcasts we do. You can advertise your regiment in the bottom of our videos and get an additional broadcast per week. We have other stuff in the description as well. We'll see you all in the next one. Appreciate you all. Have a wonderful rest of your night.